Oh, wow. I guess people really like Steven Universe. Wow. So, yeah. About 4 days ago, I finished marathoning the entirety of Steven Universe, all the way up to Chill Tide. I think it's Tide. It looks like Tid, but Tide sounds better. Anyway, finished marathoning it all the way up until there, and I had decided while watching it that I liked Pearl the best. She was my favorite character. And I decided I wanted to make a post on Tumblr saying something about what I liked about the show, and then I wanted to talk about Pearl. And then I was thinking, you know, she kind of reminds me a little bit of a character from Cardcaptor Sakura. At first I was thinking she was similar to Tomoyo, because Tomoyo was in love with Sakura, but then she watched Shaoran. But then I realized that Pearl's reaction to watching Rose fall in love with Greg was very different from Tomoyo's. But then I realized it's actually very similar to Sonomi Daidoji, Tomoyo's mother. Pearl was in love with Rose, Sonomi was in love with Nadeshiko. Rose fell in love with Greg, Nadeshiko fell in love with Fujitaka. Pearl didn't really like Greg at first, mainly because she was taking Rose away from her. And Sonomi didn't like Fujitaka because he was taking Nadeshiko away from her. Rose and Greg had Steven, and Rose died making Steven. And Nadeshiko and Fujitaka had Toya and Sakura, and Nadeshiko died when Sakura was 3. Pearl watches over Steven very much like a mother. Sonomi watches over Sakura very much like a mother. They are very similar. And in one of the notes on my post, someone even mentioned that Sonomi's outfit in the pictures that I was using were very similar to Pearl's outfit in colors. That was unintentional. She wears different outfits with different color schemes, but I guess that works? And then the post exploded. It's over 10,000 notes right now. I mean, last night I went to bed and it was barely over 6,000. Now then I get up and it's over 9,000. It's over 9,000! And now it's over 10,000. What? What? I have one other post that's just barely over 500 notes. 2 posts barely over 200 notes. A few more posts barely over 100 notes. And the rest of them are lucky to break 10. And super lucky to break 20. This is 10,000! So, yeah, I decided it was time to, make a video and actually talk about Pearl, instead of just making a quick little reference post. That was crazy. I mean, wow. So, Pearl. Well, first let's talk about who Pearl is. Anyone who watches Steven Universe already knows, but in case you haven't seen Steven Universe, either you've been living under a rock, or you're like me and you need several months of people telling you that it's good before you'll actually even try to watch it. Pearl is one of the crystal gems, an alien warrior from a planet that we don't have a specific name for it, they just call it Homeworld. And these gems have special powers, and Pearl was one of the soldiers that fought against the gems of the Homeworld several thousand years ago when the Homeworld was trying to invade Earth. And Pearl, along with Garnet, Amethyst, and Rose Quartz, and several other unnamed gems, were fighting against Homeworld to try and keep Earth safe. Several thousand years later, after they finally won the war, they run into a human named Greg Universe. Rose Quartz falls in love with Greg. Pearl has been in love with Rose since the beginning, at least as long as any of us are aware. But Rose either doesn't seem to know how Pearl feels about her, or she just doesn't feel the same way. Either way, she clearly hasn't rejected Pearl, otherwise there would have been some sort of hint towards that by now. But Rose fell in love with Greg, and then the two had a kid together. Unfortunately, since gems are different from humans, Rose had to give up her life force in order for Steven to be born. So Steven's birth meant the death of Rose. And this is the first piece of the puzzle when dealing with who Pearl is as a character. Lately, we've been seeing more of Pearl not really having much of a line between whether Steven is Rose or just Rose's son. There have been several occasions where Pearl acts like she thinks that Steven is Rose. She sees Rose in Steven. She forgets that it is Steven and not Rose. And that seems to be something that I've noticed very quickly that the fandom has decided they don't like. But I think this adds a lot of depth to her character. She was in love with Rose. She didn't have her love returned. And there have been so many stories where you have a character in this situation who winds up hating the child as well as the father. And yes, while Pearl didn't like Greg at all at first, in the show you see that she does tolerate him, and it doesn't take too much longer for her to treat him like another person. He's an important part in Steven's life, and she knows that, and she doesn't want to separate Steven from Greg, which is another thing that she could very well have done. She could very well have been like, no, Steven doesn't need you in his life, being her channeling her not wanting to see Greg. But because she cares about Steven, and she cares about Steven's happiness, she tolerates Greg to the best of her abilities so that Steven can still have his father in his life. And that's one of the things that I really admire about Pearl, especially as the daughter of divorced parents myself. My dad always made sure that I had my mother in my life. Even in times when I would be angry with her or upset with her and just didn't want to think about her, my dad still pushed me to keep her in my life, and I'm very grateful to him for that. So I can definitely identify with Steven on that regards, and I am just really glad that Pearl has chosen to put Steven's happiness first. Going back to Pearl's story, we jump up to the present time. She's helping to raise Steven, and she's very protective of him. Even in the earlier episodes, she's very overprotective, and that also kind of goes back to her relationship with Rose. We find out in Sworn to the Sword that Pearl saw herself as Rose's knight, and she would constantly throw herself in harm's way as long as it meant protecting Pearl. And she was trying to teach this to Connie, which fortunately Steven was able to intervene and say, no, this is not how it should be. We fight together side by side, not you fight and die for my sake. Which was not only a good lesson, but that really speaks levels about Pearl's character. She loved Rose. Rose was her everything, and she wanted to do everything that she could to help and to protect Rose. And we also find out that Rose didn't like that. You know, she didn't approve of that. Not only from the after Steven asked her if his mother ever treated her like she was nothing, but also from Pearl's line where she says, "Why won't you just let me do this for you, Rose?" She was remembering how Rose did not want Pearl to be her shield. Rose had a shield. That was her actual shield, her weapon. She didn't want Pearl to be put in harm's way just to protect herself. And my guess would be that Rose probably never sat down to have that same talk with Pearl that Steven had with Connie. Or at least not to the level of degree that it really sank in. She might have tried to tell Pearl, "Hey, no, you don't need to do this for me. I don't want you to be my shield. I want you to be my ally at my side, not in front of me." And that really does speak levels about Pearl's character. She's always been protective, not just of Rose, but also of Steven. And I think that's a very admirable trait that she has, even if she does tend to take it too far. And I think the fact that she takes it too far sometimes just makes her a more believable character. The fact that she has all of these flaws and that she is shown to be anything but perfect really makes you feel like this could be a character, or this could be an actual person in real life, which is a really great thing to keep in mind when you're writing a character. You give them flaws. You give them reasons to do the things that they do. And one of the things that I love about Pearl is that she is so complex. But now the question comes up, if she had all these inner feelings and turmoils going on from day one, why didn't we see them earlier? The way I see it is she knows that these are not healthy things to think about. These are not healthy thoughts. But she can't help it. She wants to protect Steven. She doesn't want to lose Steven the way that she lost Rose. And she knew that these extremes that she goes through aren't the best ways for her to go about it. So she tried to hide all this stuff from Steven. There was a lot of stuff that Steven didn't know at the beginning of the show. And, you know, as a writing standpoint, that's good because then the audience can learn about all the stuff as Steven learns about it. But at the same time, this also shows that she didn't want Steven to feel like she blamed him for his mother's death. She didn't want Steven to think that she only saw Pearl in him. She wanted Steven to believe that she loved him for him. And I think that she does. I really think that she loves Steven for himself. But it's hard for her because she knows that he is Rose's child and that he is the new Rose Quartz gem. He has half of Rose inside of him. And when you really think about that, that would be difficult for anyone to deal with. It's hard enough dealing with that sort of thing on a normal human level. Not only is he the son of the person that Pearl loved most and the person who took the person that she loved most away from her, but he is also the reason that Rose is not around anymore. And he has half of Rose's soul inside of him. That's a whole other level than any human would have to deal with in this similar situation. And that's gotta be hard on her. It's really no wonder that things have turned out the way they have. along the lines of Pearl. And Steven is starting to see this stuff. We've seen him talk to people about, not the gems. He needs to talk to the gems. He really does. But we've seen him talk to other humans about these things that have been brought to the surface, about how he's starting to think that Pearl blames him for his mom being gone. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that issue between them getting resolved and having them actually sit down and talk about this. That's probably going to be like near the end, or at the very least maybe near the end of this season. But this is an issue that will most likely be touched upon later on. And honestly, I don't think Pearl even realizes how she's making Steven feel. I think she has that wide-eyed expression whenever she makes that kind of mistake, but I don't think she quite realizes how Steven has been feeling. In fact, I think the only person who might possibly know that Steven is starting to feel the pressure of it would probably be Garnet, and that's just because she's the most intuitive of the three gems. And who knows, maybe people will stop hating on Pearl so much once she herself finally realizes what it is she's doing to Steven. But anyway, I've been rambling on about Pearl for a little too long now, almost 17 minutes. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below what you think of Pearl, what you think of my interpretation of the character, whether you think I'm misreading something, maybe I've missed something about her, or why you like or dislike the character. And if you want me to make more videos talking about Steven Universe, maybe talking about my thoughts on the different characters, or even doing videos about the episodes, because I don't think there are a whole lot of videos about the individual episodes out right now, so maybe if enough people want it, I could probably do that. But leave a comment down below your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.